So to start off, I don't have my mic with me, so the audio quality would be lower than usual. Someone else is using it right now, but we should be fine with this. It's not going to be a long video anyway, it's just a small video. Apologies for taking so long to upload a new video because I had a few things going on. Clearly, I'm not committed to this, but anyway, let's begin. So what we have here is China's first carbon ETS, or emissions trading system. That's what it stands for. And it's just like a testing. So they just started to test this in Shanghai. So let's get into it. An exchange in Shanghai has begun tests to launch China's first emissions trading system in June, according to the chief of the marketplace. And this article was posted a day ago. And we arranged more than 30 companies across the country to conduct some real trading tests this week. Lei Xiaoming, I think that's how his name is pronounced, chairman of the Shanghai Environment and Energy Exchange. So that's the SEEE. And he said that during a forum in Shanghai on the 22nd. And such tests will continue for some time. So I'm guessing they're going to be quite rigorous in their testing, so that they can perfect and they know what to expect when fully implementing this kind of thing throughout the country. So what is it for? It's to allow companies to reduce their emissions at a low cost while forming a reasonable pricing mechanism. And it's so this is the carbon credits thing, which we have been hearing about quite recently, as of late. And it helps firms save resources and trade their unused capacity for others to offset some of the emissions. So it actually makes the market more environmentally friendly and more efficient overall. That's just from reading without any further thinking. That's just what you get on first glance, just from that sentence alone. So these assets may be in high demand. In September 2020, President Xi Jinping revealed China's ambitious target of reaching carbon neutrality by 2060. And before that, carbon dioxide emissions should peak by 2030. Shanghai has set an even harder deadline of peaking by 2025. Now, carbon neutrality, we all know what that means. And by 2060, for a country of this, a continental-sized country, is very ambitious, I would say, to say the least. By 2060, so I'd be 60 years old by then, but we'll be seeing a lot of developments like this ambitious stuff from China. And so I'll have a life extension stuff ready for that. Do you see Isaac Author's videos on life extension? I'll have a card up on that. But anyway, going back to the topic on hand, that's a very ambitious goal, admittedly, but I have a feeling that they'll reach that target even earlier than 2060. It's just a gut instincts thing. Before that, carbon dioxide emissions should peak by 2030. I feel like this could also happen a bit sooner, with how efficiently the country is run, and it needs to be sooner than 2030 because climate scientists did warn about 2 years ago that by 2030, give or take a year, I would say give or take a few years, if we were being very optimistic, a few more years past 2030, that climate change would become irreversible. But more importantly, a lot of the species on our planet, we'll lose a lot of species on our planet by that point, and I don't know if we'll ever get the technology to bring them back. Most of them, at least. We do, but that's a whole different topic. It's just a huge loss, basically. We'll lose a lot of biodiversity and stuff like that. So I feel like they need to. We don't know China's actual world leader, but I feel like they need to bring the whole world into this scheme as much as they can. Like we know the West, they will have to be forced to come along, but by whatever means, we need to get them to come along, is what I'm saying. Other countries, poor developing countries, I think they need to be provided a lot of development assistance in green technologies, hopefully, instead of obviously any developing country would prefer fossil fuels as that's cheaper right now, but preferably we could switch that over to renewables once it gets cheaper by a large amount, and it's easier to use fossil fuels as well. So we got to change that. A lot of issues regarding climate and restructuring of the world's economy that we have yet to solve. And it goes on to say that Shanghai has an even harder deadline of peaking by 2025. So 4 years from now, that's very impressive, I would say. You got to remember that Shanghai has a population of 26 million, pretty much the same as Australia, where I live, the whole country of Australia. And I don't think Australia would even come close to peaking by 2025, to be honest. Not even by 2030, I don't think. Actually, we don't even have a goal, if I'm correct. So that's very impressive for a city. And we know cities are quite concentrated when it comes to carbon emissions and stuff like that. But they're also very highly productive, and because they're concentrated in that area, if we manage to lower the emissions in that area alone, it'd be a big boost in our fight against climate change. Rural areas, they do have a little bit of pollution, but just it's not as hard to get rid of, obviously. And the CEE will first carry out spot trading, but expects to add derivatives and future contracts as soon as possible when the conditions are favorable, said Lai. That's pretty self-explanatory. They want to experiment in its primitive form, this trading scheme, and they're going to make it more complex, add on more things in the future. Just a sort of scientific method in which is the way China operates. So they currently have a niche carbon credit market, and over recent years have launched 7 carbon trading pilots across the country, while the total turnover has been about 10 billion yuan, or about $1.6 billion, with less than 500 million tons traded. So pilots, obviously, there are testing schemes and with less than 500 million tons traded. So it's still pretty impressive, pretty futuristic stuff going on there. The domestic marketplace needs to have a certain degree of liquidity and relatively large trading volumes, said Lai. So yeah, economies of scale, obviously highly essential for this kind of stuff. Thus, they strive to include as many firms and financial institutions as possible here. Obviously, considering how interconnected China is with the world, this will have a pretty huge, what I call like a domino effect on the rest of the world. And we'll see that in the years to come. So here's what they plan on doing. So they'll introduce nearly 2,230 power companies and gradually expand the scope to other industries that use a lot of energy, such as petrochemicals, chemicals, building materials, steel, non-ferrous metals, paper making, and civil aviation, satellite. The market needs to develop to involve many levels to scale up and to have an effective pricing mechanism. Satellite. This should guide companies to save costs and control their emissions, as well as to promote technology and investing here. So what they're doing is they're trying to bring in all these companies. They're trying to scale it up, and they're using market forces, which is effective in productive growth, to do all this, and to save costs and control emissions. Blah blah blah. And as well as to promote technology, innovation, and investing. So obviously the government can't always see everything. This is unrealistic. But with private companies into the mix, it'll be a huge boost, I'd say. And as I said before, the domino effect, because China is very interconnected with the rest of the world, it would have huge ramifications, if you will. So we can look forward to that in the next 10 years, I'd say. Pretty interesting development. Definitely hoping the targets, the emission targets by 2030 is a bit sooner, because China is a huge country and all that. But I think they'll definitely achieve it by then. They have a track record for that. And also because I personally predict that they'll become a developed country by around 2025 anyway. So that's why I think carbon emissions will peak slightly before 2030. Hopefully I'm right. So yeah, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys next time.